Sorry, you have to unmute. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to Advanced Python at week 9. As I mentioned to Jerry, this is the second last Advanced Python class we have. So the last one is next Monday. All right. So yeah. So last week we were learning about Python classes. So today we're going to go on and with Python classes and learn about class inheritance. And yes, down to what we do make a new project, like a new REPL project. Right. Can anyone, by the way, can anyone raise their hands if they can explain how classes, like what classes are to me, just as a reminder of last lesson.
I just want to say I haven't been here for the last classes since I was sick. So I don't understand. I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, okay. That's understandable. If you want to catch up, you can always look at the lecture recordings for the last few lessons as well. But yeah, you might have a bit of a hard time understanding what's going on with this one because it kind of builds on the last lesson. But yeah, I'll try and do some recap on what classes are there at the start of this lesson though. Jemima said classes are assigning colors. No, not really. Not exactly. You can, but colors can be a property of a class though. All right, I'll just start recapping for you. All right, I'll share my screen. I've made some slides for this. So yeah, basically, I'll actually open the last REPL just to show you guys. Yeah, Advanced Python week 8 was last lesson. So yeah, Python classes. So basically, a lot of things most things in Python are objects. Like pretty much most types of variables like strings and numbers and stuff are objects. Objects have like variables and functions associated with them. So if you ever see anything like in Python, it's like, this dot, function, this is called a method, and this is like a function that's associated with this type of object. If you ever see this dot notation here, whatever this variable is, it has like a variable associated with what type of variable it is. It's kind of hard to explain without showing an example, but yeah. So most things in Python are objects, and objects are instances of classes. Like, for example, every single string is like an instance of the string class, if that makes sense. So I think from last week, basically I showed you guys that like basically every string is an instance of a string class. Every string has like a dot lower method, which you can use to make all strings lowercase. Every string has like a split method that you can use to like split strings into a list. Every like decimal number or float has a function called is_integer that you can use to tell whether it's like equivalent in value to like an integer. So yeah, and I showed you guys how to like create a class. So you can also create your own classes. So strings and decimal numbers and stuff are inbuilt Python classes, but you can also make your own classes that have their own like methods and their own attributes. So I'll show you guys how to make this class called like flower. And flowers have a color, and this variable that is associated with this class is called an attribute. So it has a color, and it also has a method called say, where it like says what it is and what its color is, just as an example of a method you can create, sort of similar to how like all strings have like a method that turns it lowercase. Every flower has a method that says say, so it can talk about itself. And then I show you guys the init function, which is the initializer function, which you can use to like sort of assign values to its attributes. whenever you create a new one of it. And so this is like, and in this section, this is basically creating like an instance of a flower or a flower. So F is a flower and red flower is also a flower, but they have different color properties. So we have like 2 instances of flower here and stuff like that. And you can do this with like, you can define your own classes that represent anything. You can have a class that represents a person, one that represents a flower. And yeah, no, that was last week. So yeah, it's pretty important that you understand sort of how this works. So you understand what I'm talking about this week. Because this week I'm going to do something a bit more advanced with classes. So classes in Python have this thing called class inheritance, where you can make classes that like have all the same properties and methods as another class, except more. So for example, this is often used when like you have something which is sort of has a relationship with each other. Like for example, like you could have 2 classes, say one is called like an animal and one is called a tiger. Like a tiger is like a type of animal, right? And if you made a class that, represented an animal, like you say, like you gave it like, a noise and like a species name and stuff, a tiger would have everything that an animal has, except, more or different things as well. So in that case, it might be useful to inherit, so you don't need to write all that stuff again. Like everything you put in animal, like just can be part of tiger without having to sort of rewrite it. And it's probably kind of confusing without actually sort of having an example. So I'm going to make some classes and show you how that works. But yeah, so we call this sort of inheriting, sort of like how you can like inherit, your parents' like eye color or something. Classes can inherit sort of attributes from other classes. And yeah, and how you write that is basically whatever your, and it's important to recognize like, so the class that inherits something from the other class is called a child in relation to this class, and this is called a parent. So that's sort of how that relationship works. So child inherits from parent. And how you write this is like, you define your parent class like normal, and if you want your child class to inherit stuff from it, you just put the parent class's name in brackets here in the definition, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm hoping this makes a bit more sense when I actually write it down. But yeah. So first of all, make a new REPL. So I'm already logged into REPLit.com, and I'm going to make a new Python REPL. Let's call this advanced Python class. Oh. So make a new project. Okay, so to show you guys how like class inheritance works, I'm going to use like the same example I wrote in there. You have like an animal and like a tiger. So a tiger is like a type of animal. So let's just start with like the basics of making like a class. So class declaration for animal just looks like class animal, and then whatever stuff you have in here. Like this is the most basic class definition you can have. And I'm going to make, and then to inherit from this tiger, and then remember to inherit from animal, you need to put the name of your parent class inside of it. And then this. So this is just like a skeleton. I'm going to fill in this block where I've written pass with actual stuff. So yeah, when we think of like attributes and methods, like you can think of like attributes is stuff, is sort of properties that the class has. So what do animals have? They have like a species name, and most of them like make a noise. So I guess we can start with those 2. So I can say and the other thing I mentioned was the difference between sort of class variables and the difference between like variables you can sort of decide on each instance. But yeah, I think I mentioned before, let's do like df init. So that's double underscore NINIT. And we've decided that they have like an animal has like a species name, and it also has like a noise it makes, colon, and then self.species equals species, self.noise equals noise. So if you were here last week, we mentioned that like the purpose of assigning this stuff here is so that you can create, so that when you make an instance of your animal, you can sort of define it like this. So for example, if you wanted to, I don't know, make like a pig, it'd be like pig equals animal, and then you put the species as a parameter and then the noise. And then ignore this, self is like a special parameter that's used in like every function, like in every method inside a class. But yeah, you could say like, I don't know, pig, and then like oink. So that's how that works. That's the purpose of the init function. It's like this function is the one that gets called whenever you make a new one, like a new animal in this case. All right, so we have two attributes. One is species, one is noise. So we're gonna like add a method. So remember, a method is like a function associated with a class. So I'm gonna say a function called make noise. And remember, every method needs to have self in it. And then I don't know, the make noise function can just like print whatever like noise it has. Remember, when you're referring to like an attribute that the class has like inside one of its methods, you use like self dot whatever the attribute is. So if you did like down here, pig dot make noise, it should just say oink. Yeah. All right, yeah, by the way, if you at any point just like raise your like hand in Zoom if you have like any questions or you want me to go over anything, because classes in Python are probably like some of the most complicated thing you'll learn in Python so far at a beginner level. So yeah, I know it can be difficult to get your head around it at first. You can always just review the lecture recording afterwards as well. But yeah, well, we're still not using inheritance yet. We've sort of made a skeleton for a tiger, but it doesn't really do anything yet. But yeah, I'll make another function inside animal that actually, you know, uses, well, it prints out some of the things. They introduce self. And what this one does, I'll just say, I am a whatever, and I'll just have it say what kind of species it is. So if I did pig dot, I don't know, introduce, you get to introduce itself, it will just say, I am a pig. Assad asks, what does pass do? Pass is like it's something you put in when you don't want to write code yet, and but you want something to fill in the space. It's like a sort of placeholder word. For example, if I didn't have this word in here and I just left it like this, immediately it would show up with an error because it says expected an indented block. That's because every time you have like a colon, like in an if statement or class declaration or function declaration, it expects to have some code in an indented block afterwards. And if you have nothing there, it's going to complain. So I just put pass here just to give it something, even though, yeah, it's just a like placeholder text, basically. It's like the official keyword for placeholder text. It's very useful when you don't want to write something yet. Right. So, right, so we have like, so I'm going to show you how like tigers work. So if you wanted to make a new class called tiger and you wanted to have, I don't know, like every single like characteristic that an animal has, like a tiger also has a species, it also makes a noise, and you also want it to have these functions where it like makes noise and introduces itself. You could like write all this stuff over again. Like you could just copy and paste all of this. This would still like work. Don't do this now, but I'll just show you as an example. Oops. You could do all this, right? But it's kind of a waste to just copy and paste stuff, because you have to write every single like thing over again, which is annoying. So that's why class inheritance is there. It's supposed to be like an official way of like reusing code without literally copying and pasting everything here. And it's also useful when you're building on top of an existing class as well. Like say a tiger might have stuff that an animal does not, but it has everything an animal does have, but it has some extra stuff as well, if that makes sense. Hello.
I just want to know out of curiosity, is there a line of code that it means contains, like a line of code that is like, if input contains the letter A, do this, this, this? Is there a line of code that can do that?
You can do that in multiple lines of code, actually. Do you mean by input, do you mean like user input, like directly from like the keyboard?
I mean like, yeah, enter equals input, blah, blah, blah. And then if they say write pig, if enter contains a P, show pig, like.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely code to do that. Oh, yeah, I can show you that. I can show that pretty briefly now. I think, so what you want is like, I think answer equals, you know, the input function?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I usually put a new line on the end to make it neater. And then you have if answer, and by contains you mean like has a letter in it, right? So if so Python string contains doesn't have, you can use the in operator actually. See, that works on strings, so I'll just show you how that works. So you can have if I don't know, a in answer do something basically like this. So I'll show you how that one works. Actually, I can do this now. So if I type stuff, and this contains the letter A. Actually, I should probably make it do something. Yeah, that works.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's more an if statements and user input question, but yeah, that's how you do that. Okay, hi, Elena. Hello, can't quite hear you there. Do you have your mic on? You're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Right, I might have to move on to someone else then. Hi, Aiden.
Hi, where it says def make noise underscore noise self, it says the main file main.py line 6 def make dot noise self dot syntax error invalid syntax.
Did you do make underscore noise or make like dot noise? Do you also have a red underline here?
I did make dot noise.
Yeah, you can't use dots in your function names. It's confusing.
Oh,
Oh, it's-
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Levin.
It says trace back most recent class file main py line 16 in module pig.make noise attribute error animal object has no attribute make noise.
Okay, it thinks that it doesn't have a function called make noise, or it doesn't have a method called make noise. So make sure you have this here, that it's inside your definition for animal. And yeah. And you have these two brackets here. Do you have this indented at the right level as well? Like, do you have it like, you know, at this level instead of like outside?
Oh, I did too.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have it at this, like this.
No.
Okay, yeah. Try fixing that. It should work. And remember to indent, you just highlight and then, oops, and then press tab.
But now it says in line 17, pig introduce attribute error animal object.
Did you do the same thing with your introduce function? Remember, if you want these functions to be methods of your class animal, they have to be at the right level. So this also needs to be like here.
Oh,
Yeah. Remember the only way in Python, the only way to show that like a function is part of like a class is to have it indented at the correct level. Otherwise, it'll think this is like a function that lives outside of your animal class if it's there.
now it works.
Okay, that's good. Hi, Jerry.
Just at line 10.
What about line 10?
Line 10, print I am a percent s percent self dot species.
Yep.
But I accidentally deleted that line, so I have to retype it now.
Okay, yeah, just retype it then.
What? Def?
If you deleted something and that's like the last thing you did, you can also press usually Control Z, because that is like undo. So if I make a silly mistake and then we'll get rid of it, it's like Control Z, undo. A lot of like same as in like if you make a mistake in a Word document.
Okay, got it.
Hope that helps.
It just says my line 10 days.
No, I missed that. Okay, maybe I'll do one more question before I start writing more stuff. Okay, hi Mahika.
Hello, by seeing what you got in your result, I can see that you have like typed something here, some spamming, and this has A in it. So is it supposed to come?
No,
or do
no,
you
no,
just
that,
type it for examples?
No, that I was just typing that for, I think, yeah, like an example for David for like how to use user input. If I run this again, this will just say point kind of pig. That's the only output you should expect.
Yeah,
type
yeah, I got that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Cool. All right, I'll answer more questions in a second, but I think I'll just show you guys how like, you know, how inheritance works with Tiger. So yeah, as I mentioned, if you want to make a tiger that has every characteristic and every function that the animal class has, you can copy and paste it, but it's kind of a waste of space because Python has this useful feature called class inheritance, where you can, if you put the name of the parent class inside of here, when you declare tiger, this will have every characteristic that an animal has. So even without like typing anything in the class declaration of tiger, a tiger should have pretty much every characteristic you can expect of an animal, including like the same, it implicitly has the same init function, even though you haven't written one for it. So if I don't know, say tiger equals tiger, and I'll give it a species. Apparently. So it goes species and noise. Like tiger raw. If I do like tiger.make noise, it should roar. And if I do tiger.introduce, it should introduce itself like a pig. So it kind of says roar, I am a tiger. So as you can see, like the definition of tiger literally contains nothing except that it inherits everything from animal. And like it sort of acts as if everything here is in here, which is useful. But yeah, the power of inheritance kind of comes in sort of at the point where you start extending a class. So as I mentioned, like say a tiger is an animal, but it also might have stuff that an animal does like that the base of generic animal does not have. So yeah, I think I'll answer some more questions. All right. Hi, Eden.
It's still not working, and it says trace back most recent call last file main.py line 18 in module pig.make underscore noise attribute animal object has no attribute make underscore noise.
Okay, it might be quicker to see if I can actually see your screen. Yeah, maybe you can show your screen. 1 second. Yeah, try sharing your screen now and I can have a look at see what your code looks like. Okay, animal object has no attributes. Oh, right. Have you noticed? So you see the, that on line 2, there's like a vertical line that shows how all the functions should be aligned. So make noise and introduce are too much indented. See, they're at a different level. Like they're not in the right alignment. Make noise on line 6 and introduce on line 9 are both too much like to the right. If you can see. Yeah. So just highlight. No, yeah, that sort of works. Yeah, just make sure they're in the, that won't work either, because it's still not in quite the right alignment. Actually, undo that, like, it just controls that. Yeah, and then now highlight like both of those functions, just from lines like 6 to 10, like all together. Yeah, line 6 to 10, only line 6 to 10, those two functions. Yep, and then shift tab once, like hold shift, press tab. Yep, that's the right alignment. You can see like the horizontal lines that sort of go down the page, like that's like the sort of alignment guideline to how you should align functions that belong in the same level. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, gotta be very careful with your alignment in Python, because like if you don't align stuff properly, you'll get a lot of errors. A lot of other languages other than Python actually use brackets to like determine like what is part of what. Like for example, in a lot of sort of C family languages, you'll see a lot of stuff like curly braces like this. Python doesn't use curly braces. It uses only like left-right alignment to determine what is part of, like what code blocks are part of what other code blocks. So yeah, pretty careful with that. Hi, Jerry.
I press Control Z and it when I try to like print it, it like doesn't work.
Tried to print? Like, what are you trying to do? Run it? Or are you trying
Like,
to,
I mean, like, yeah, run it.
like, are you getting an error message? Or did you delete too much?
Well, it says line 10, but I like looked at yours and I can't like find any like
Okay.
mistake or something.
Okay, I'll have a quick look at yours and see what I can find. 1 second. Okay, try sharing a screen and I'll see if I can figure out what you've done.
1 sec.
Okay. Yes, you put a yeah. You say you have like a quote at the end of self.species. Like you shouldn't have that last quote there. Yeah,
Oh.
get rid of that last double quote because yeah, it doesn't match anything. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. I could see with the error message it said EOL while like scanning string literal, which usually means it's trying to figure out where the beginning or end of a string is, but it can't find the end. Usually happens when you have like unmatched quotes. But yeah. Cool. Hope that helps. Cool. Okay.
I did exactly the same thing as you did, except without the tiger variable. And it
Yeah.
says trace back most recent call last file main tied line 15 in module pig equals animal brackets quotes pig comma oink quotation brackets type error dot animal quotation brackets takes no arguments.
Did you remember to put this in the init function? Like the species and noise? Because if you only did self, it might do that. I'll delete these two and show you what this looks like. I think I will get a similar error message.
I did def init self species noise. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it claims it should take no arguments. I'll just have a look at your screen. It's probably quicker. Let's see. All right, try sharing a screen. I'll have a look. It says animal text. No, oh, you misspelled the init function. So on line 2, it's like you did INTIT. Just remove that middle T. Yeah, it's INIT.
Oh, oops. What's that?
IT. Yep.
Type error.
Oh, and on line 15, you know, pig should be quoted and oink should be quoted like separately. So end quote on the end of pig, and you need a beginning quote on the beginning of oink. Yep. Yeah, because they're two separate strings. Oh, and then you have the same like alignment problem you have that the other person had with like make noise and introduce. See, they aren't on the same like alignment. So line 6 and line 9, have you noticed like they are like too much indented compared to init, like above?
They need to be indented.
No, not line 16. I mean, no, not there, not that one. Line 6 and line 9, like those two blocks should be at the same level of indentation as in it, if that makes sense. So they're too far to the right. You need to like move them to the left.
Better?
No, they're still too far to the right. See, you know the vertical line like guides, they should show you where. And then make sure their print statements have to be unindented by 1 as well. Remember? Yep. So just yep, that's right for that one. And then on line 7, just move that back by yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This one code just to
yeah, as you make more complex, like, you know, classes with like more levels of indentation, it's, yeah, you kind of need to be careful and make sure that everything like aligns properly. Why most code editors like draw these vertical lines to sort of show you the guidelines. Anyway, cool. Anyway, so now we, yeah, showed you like you can basically make tiger have all the same properties and functions as animal just by putting this in these brackets here. But yeah, as I mentioned before, like you can actually make tiger do more stuff than animal as well. Like, I don't know, if you give it like, what does tiger do? Like add a function. So say like not all animals can like run, right? So let's give it a run function that says like I am running. Unfortunately, I haven't shown you guys how to draw things in Python, so I can't really animate this for you, but yeah. So say a tiger is an animal, except it also has one extra function called run. So now I can make tiger down here run. I'll do that by printing. So yeah, now tiger does everything like a sort of base animal can do, except also run. That's how that works. Yeah, that is the power of like inheritance. Oh yeah, also inheritance can also work in chains. So like if you wanted to define another class that inherited off tiger, you would just go put like, I don't know, class name, like something else, and then tiger, and then that does everything a tiger does, and then plus whatever you want as well. Don't type this, though, that's just an example. So yeah, this allows you to have like a whole hierarchy of like different child classes. So right now, this is only like a relationship of two things, but this can, like, you can have an animal that like, yeah, tiger inherits from animal and something else can inherit from tiger. So you can have like as long a chain as you like. Okay, hi Carlos.
Also, like, I just wanted to say that if you wanna animate your repos and draw things, you need to import Turtle.
Yes, Turtle is a graphical like module you can use to draw stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to run a lesson on how to use that, but you can Google that and find like tutorials on it yourself if you like. But yeah, good advice. All right, come on.
My thing's not working. It says trace back most recent call file main py error in it missing one required positional argument noise.
Oh, okay. Did you forget to like what line are you getting on? Are you getting it on pig or on tiger?
15.
Yeah, okay, that's probably around here. Did you quote these two things separately, like pig in one string, oink in another string?
Oh no.
Okay. If you surround both of these things with quotes, it'll think that that's just one sentence instead of two different strings.
Yeah, it works now.
Okay, good. Fully. All right, so yeah, that is the basic idea of inheritance. You have like a class, you want to make a class that does everything that an existing class already does, except even more. Okay. Hi, Levin.
Mine only says oink and raw.
Do you call these? Like, do you call the make noise functions? Do you have make noise and introduce? Do you have them at the right indent level? You know?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have a quick look at your screen just to see what you've got. Okay, try sharing now. Oh, you forgot to add the brackets on line 19 after introduce. Remember, every function call needs the brackets. Yeah,
Oh.
let's put them there. Yep. And yeah, on introduce and run both need brackets as well. Yep, try running again. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Yeah, if you don't add the brackets, it's not a function call. Like I mentioned before, what happens if you like ignore, don't add the brackets? So instead of like, you know, doing what the function says to do, it will actually, if you print this out, it'll actually like tell you what the function is, or like, so if I do on line 25, tiger introduce without the function call, it'll just say, this is bound method animal.introduce of main tiger object at blah, 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 blah. So yeah, you can get some funny results if you forget the brackets. Okay. Right. So you can do slightly more complicated things than just adding additional. You can add additional functions and like class attributes and stuff. But another thing you can do is you can actually give it a new init function. So if you don't define an init function for your child class, it will just use whatever the parent one was. But I'll show you what happens if you like define your own one. So if you define your own init function, so right now this one's empty. This will like, so as soon as you write an init function for your child class, it will replace what the parent one does. So now if I run this, then like this will no longer work because everything about species and noise was in the parent init, but now it doesn't use that anymore. And my init function here is empty and takes no argument. So it's like, oh, type error, your init takes one positional argument, but you gave it 3. Well, I gave it 2, but it has like an invisible one called self. So yeah, what you can do is say if you want to give tiger like an extra attribute or something that requires you to also so you might want to create an init function for your child class. Like if it has attributes that the parent one doesn't have and you want to sort of add them on, you might want to make your own one here. But but it can be annoying to like completely recreate like this whole thing. Like copying and pasting this would be like annoying, and then just adding an extra attribute also annoying. So there's like a special thing you can do with that. This is going to be kind of complicated, but I think I already explained the middle point here, which is if you define an init method for the child class, it will replace the one it inherited from the parent. And when a child class replaces something that the parent already has, it's called overwriting. So say you want to make a new init function for your child class, but you want it to sort of, you want to use the parent's one. Oops. You can say, say tiger has still has species and noise. But you want it to essentially use the parent one anyway. let's say I want this to have like a new attribute called like, I don't know, movement, because I can say it's, you know, it runs. So you can use, I'll just delete this comment here because it goes over the line. So yeah, this replaces the parent one. So you can go, obviously you want self.movement equals movement. Oh, and by the way, now because this has species, noise, and movement, I need to sort of add this to line 23 when I make it. So I'll just say running. And say I still wanted to assign the stuff the same way that the parent did, like without having to retype this. So I will just say, actually, I'll change the signature a little bit because obviously all tigers would have species tiger and they would all have like raw. So I'll just delete these. So say you only want to define like the movement. Type here. Anyway, so I can use this function called super to like refer to the parents in it function. So I can use like tiger. Tiger is a species, noise is raw. So we'll say tigers, in addition to having a species and a noise. Oh, I need to delete this as well. Oops. So this is confusing. So now the init function of tiger only has movement. Now we only have one argument here. And then we call the parents init function, and then we use species, noise, and every tiger has species tiger, every tiger roars. So we add this here, click run, and now this works the same. All right, I did a few different things here. I think I might need to go over them again. So basically, now when you, on line 25, when you define a tiger, you no longer define its species and you don't define its noise, you only define its movement type, which is running. So this is only running on line 25. And I added this init function to tiger. And then I deleted the like species and noise parameters from its init function and only gave it movement, just this, and then these lines. Yeah, it might be a little confusing, but what this does, it basically, it refers, so if you want it to like, if you want your custom init function for tiger to use the one from animal as well, you can just call it. You can call super bracket and then init, and then you give like init the parameters that you want, and then it will initialize it the same way that it did up here as well. Okay, now let's some questions. Hi, Joanna.
Hello. Mine says I am running twice. I don't know why.
Okay. I can have a look at your code. Give me a second. All right, just try sharing your screen. I'll have a look. Oh, because you did tiger.run twice on line 31 and 32. That's why you typed that twice. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Cool. All right, to reiterate, I gave this one argument only running. This one only has in itself movement. And then these two lines. Hi, Badger.
Hi, I have an error on line 18. Hang on. Could I share my screen?
Yeah. Okay, it says animal object has no attribute introduce. Oh, you misspelled introduce on line 9. You don't have an R.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Cool. So now I have like a tiger that inherits from animal and also has its own init function that uses its parent one, but also has something extra as well. And now because it has a different init function that only has one argument, it sort of initializes differently to animal, but it still inherits from it. But yeah. I can show you more examples of like things that can sort of inherit from animal. Don't worry if you don't get to this because this is kind of just demonstrating the same thing here, but like more. But yeah, like you can add other things that extend animal, like I don't know, bird. Say, yeah, fly, self. And so then you can be like print. I'm flying. You can give it a different init, like def init self. And what does a bird have that's different to other things? I guess it also has a movement type. You can also give it like a bird type, like if you want to like specify like parrots and stuff, or like different kinds of birds. Just say self.movement equals movement, and self.bird type is bird type. And then you want it to call super, of course. So you have to provide species and noise. So it's called bird, and noise is some tweet. And now I'll just make a bird. I know I'm doing this really fast, but yeah, it's just another example of a thing that extends animal. See how that works. And you can do bird equals bird, and then fly, and then I don't know. Actually, I call this parrot. So now this is a parrot, and parrots also, yeah, parrot, fly. Okay, I'll answer some questions if you have any, since we only have about 5 minutes left. Okay. Hi, Mahika.
Hi, I'm having some problems with my code. So my problem is on line 14. It says file main.py, line 14, and it says that super line you typed in, and it says indentation error.
Okay. You probably have it at a weird indent, like sort of like this. But I'll have a look at your screen to see exactly what you wrote wrong there. Okay. Share your screen now and have a look.
Okay.
Indentation error, unexpected indent. Oh, on like line 13, you didn't have a space between DEF and the first underscore. Yeah, just add one space before your 2 underscores. Before, yeah, after the F, add a space.
This.
Yep, and yep. And then now super needs to be at the same level as self, so make sure it's at the same kind of, yeah. Yep. Weird. I think that should be about the right level now.
It says unexpected indent.
Okay. Try sort of like go to line 14, like backspace up like the way. Backspace, one more backspace until it's on the same line as the other one. That's still
Confusing.
it is kind of confusing. Okay. Which do I think on like line 13, just backspace until DEF is completely unindented to start with, so you can just
So this?
the line above that. Yeah, just undone that completely, and then like press tab once on that. So that should be the right level for the top level. And then your 2 lines underneath there should be,
So 1 indent on each of them?
yep. That is strange. Okay, can you like backspace like line 14 until it's like on the same level as like the, oh, I think I know what you did. You didn't press enter between the colon and like self dot movement. You know, the colon at the end of line, line 13, like, oh, no, like don't add one, like, the existing colon that is like 2 lines above it. So you have movement bracket colon, put your cursor there, press enter once. Yeah, that's why that didn't work, because it thought that the line 13 actually ended on self dot movement equals movement. So it didn't process them as being separate lines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep, now you have a different error. Okay, now with Tiger, because you've done okay, the way I've done Tiger is I only have self and movement, not self dot speed, like self and species. So on line 13, just kind of, okay, on line 13, you just have self and movement as the parameters. Don't like get rid of species and noise for this one.
Pardon?
On line 13, you have parameters self, species, noise, movement. Just delete species and noise. Yep. Delete and delete the extra comma as well. Yep. And now on line 25, when you initialize it, just only like have delete the 2 tiger and roar and just put like running. Yep. Just running.
This?
Yep. Yep. No.
Okay.
There you go. Cool. Cool. Oh, I think we've just about run out of time now. So I think I'll just quickly summarize what we've done. So yeah, that is classes and class inheritance. You can make things, classes that inherit from other classes and have all the same stuff as a parent class plus some extra. And yeah, so you can have like a tiger, which is a type of animal, and a bird, which is also a type of animal, and they can all do different stuff. But yeah, this is probably one of the most advanced things you do with beginner Python. So I hope that it makes some sense so far. And yeah, that's the end of the lesson. Hope you guys had fun.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.